All right, well, I think I'm going to get started. I appreciate everyone's time. Um, and welcome. I'm thrilled to have you all here to learn about fundraising from Philanthropic Capital, what this whole market is, the DAFs, how do you get into them, and how do you raise, $50 million for your venture? Or should I do that with a little pinky thing? Um, my name is Ken, co-founder of CataCap. Actually, going to close the participant list. Um, I'm co-founder of CataCap. I co-founded this with Tim Freundlich, who actually started Impact Assets and still works at Impact Assets, and also started SoCap. So he's kind of the godfather of impact investing. I've been in tech for 25 years, building companies, selling companies. I did fundraising from donor advised funds for my last tech company because it was an impact software company. So I've kind of been on both sides of this puzzle. I also have a DAF and I do impact investing, and I have an account at CataCap, and I do investing from my CataCap account into amazing companies on CataCap. So I've definitely been in your shoes, looking to fundraise, and also been on the flip side, uh, also doing investments. So hopefully I can bring some of that experience to you all. I put in the chat before three quick questions. I always love to know who's here. So I'm going to put it again for those that did not see before. Um, if you could tell me your name, your company or investment you're with, and a sentence uh, about what your organization or investment or company does, that'd be great. Okay, great. So I'm going to get started. So we are all here to talk about fundraising and raising capital from philanthropic capital. So um, why the heck would we do this? And some of you might know some of this. There is roughly 2.2 trillion with a T dollars sitting in untapped philanthropic capital, sitting in foundations and DAFs and annual giving, which I'll go through some of this and break it down a little bit more. But there's a few key benefits to philanthropic capital besides being this huge pool of money, which is much larger than every year, annual angel investing, by the way. This is usually very patient capital. If someone donates money into a foundation, into a DAF, and they get a tax receipt for that donation, they now can use that money to do impact investing, but they're not asking you every 3 weeks how their investment's going and when they're going to get their 100x return. It can be and usually is much more patient capital, which is amazing for catalytic investments like people that are trying to solve climate change or address disability needs, as one of the companies here, address really supporting female founders, things that maybe aren't going to have a 100x return next week, but they need some patient, longer runway, longer capital. Mission aligned capital, obviously, a lot of these foundations and DAFs, they put the money there and they're donating every year to their favorite charities. They're donating to Greenpeace or Planned Parenthood or Color of Change. And so they already have that mission alignment or purpose with that. And now they can use a lot more of that capital to align also with their mission and interests. Higher risk tolerance, because they've already gotten their tax receipt. They are oftentimes able and willing to invest earlier stage companies, riskier investments that may have a bigger impact, et cetera. Flexible capital, usually sometimes the terms can be more flexible. All the investments on CataCap are already fundraising, and so they already have investment terms that they have for regular investors. We just bring those same terms onto CataCap. But usually, there's not as much nickel and diming over terms, et cetera. And then amplification. CataCap is a great way for investments to have all their lead investors, their investment champions, promote out far and wide, like, hey, I just invested in this amazing female-founded, female-led company. Check it out. I did it with a donation of $5,000. Come check it out and do it with me. So we're really trying to unlock a lot of that sharing and amplification through CataCap. I am going to open the chat. I'm just going to have the window open. So as I'm going through, if you have questions, just throw them into the chat for me, and I'll try to get to those as I'm going through this. And on surely at the end, I will also be sure to go through the chat and try to answer any questions you all have. Okay, so where is this money today? There's $2.2 trillion sitting there sloshing around in foundations and DAFs and annual giving. Where is that money today? Well, right now, roughly 5% of that 2.2 trillion, or really 5% of the foundations and DAFs, so 5% of the 2 trillion, um, goes towards charity. So if someone has a foundation, which is a, has, you're obviously familiar with foundations, a DAF is basically a smaller foundation. It's a micro foundation, as we say. So people that have money at like Schwab Charitable or DAF Giving 360, or at Fidelity Charitable or some other place, or San Francisco Community Foundation. These places have a foundation, and then you can have like a mini account under them called a DAF, Donor Advised Fund. And so this money sits there, and every year the people in charge of those foundations or those DAFs are really should be or need to be giving away about 5% a year. There's rules around that. And so they'll donate the money to Greenpeace and Color Change, et cetera. And then 95%, the core capital, so the $2.2 trillion, $2 trillion, 95% of that is $1.8 trillion is sitting there being invested mostly in the stock market, in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ and mutual funds and maybe a green fund. And so what we're trying to do is say, hey, you already have this money sitting there with this under this umbrella of mission and purpose. Why don't you unlock some of that money into impact? And there's some reasons why it's not being done now, which I'll go through, but that's the focus. And so our goal is to, instead of having 5% go to charity, we want to unlock maybe 75%. So some of that still goes to charity, but then some of that can also go towards impact investing, which produces returns for that philanthropic capital. So this is all with CataCap. It's all investments. We don't do grants for charity. These are investments where there's an expectation for returns, where that bucket of philanthropic capital can grow so that people can do more impact investing or donate it off to charity. Okay, so this is a really important point, and I can't remember if I have this other slide, so if I don't, I'll talk to it. But our goal, so prior to CataCap, and I know this from personal experience, it was really hard, if not impossible, to raise money from foundations and DAFs and high net worth individuals and family offices and just, Uncle Joe who loves what you do and wants to donate $1,000 to support you and doesn't want to do paperwork and be on your cap table and all that stuff. It was really hard, next to impossible, unless they were willing to write, let's say $100,000 plus check, do the diligence, make sure they want to invest, do the paperwork, be on your cap table, et cetera. So it's really an arduous process. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible with CataCap so it can be as easy as a couple clicks. I will say, you are still doing the pitches. You are still doing the fundraising. We don't have $100 million from DAF sitting on CataCap just waiting for the next investment to pop up so they can jump on it. So 99% of the fundraising that happened on CataCap happens because investments come on CataCap and they get listed on CataCap, and then they go out and do their outreach and they say, hey, great news. You now have two ways to invest in us. Before, you only had one way. You could cut us a check for $50,000 or $100,000 and be on our cap table. But now you actually have a second way you can invest in us if you prefer. You can donate $500, $5,000, $500,000, get a tax receipt, and then make the investment through CataCap. So I'm just gonna, cool. Making sure there wasn't a text message from Sydney that I was doing anything wrong in the presentation. So I hope that makes sense. So people come to us and they think we're kind of a silver bullet. We're not a silver bullet. We are a platform that makes it really easy for any time you talk to someone who has a DAF or a foundation or just high net worth or just someone that just loves what you're doing. They believe in you. They're like, hey, can I do as a donation? Or you can even offer do as a donation. We make it really easy to do that. If there's any questions about that, please put it in the chat and I'm happy to answer that as well. Okay, how CataCap works. The way that CataCap works is an investment comes onto our platform. And in this case, it's behind the chat, but we're looking at Pandia Health as the example. Let's say Pandia Health is live on CataCap. They go out and tell the world. And Pandia Health is an amazing company. They provide online menopause and birth control support, consulting, and also prescriptions, et cetera, for women. And it's an amazing company. Their founder is amazing, women-led, female-founded, female-led. They've done really well on CataCap fundraising for their company. Anyway, so they put out they get live on CataCap. They tell all their friends, they tell their friends of friends, and everyone says, oh, this is amazing. I want to donate to invest in Pandia Health. So a donor puts in, let's say, $5,000. Another donor puts in $250. Another donor puts in $20,000. We aggregate all those donations, and each one of those donors has an account on CataCap that shows their donation. We aggregate all those investments, and then we make one investment into Pandia Health. So it's one name on the cat table, and it's one investment that that Pandia Health has to manage. And we keep track of all the individual underlying donors. Now, let's say we make a $200,000 investment into Pandia Health from all these aggregate investors or donor investors. Make a $200,000 donate investment. Pandia Health gets acquired by CVS for whatever $400 million. Amazing exit. Our $200,000 investment is now worth $20 million. Woo, love it. That $20 million comes back to CataCap, and then it gets disseminated among the accounts of those original donors. So that person that put in $5,000, their account now shows, what is it, $50,000. When they have that $50,000, they can then invest in other amazing thing on CataCap, hopefully, and maybe some of you. They can donate it out to another 501c3 charity. They can donate it to a DAF, back to a DAF if they had one, et cetera. So that's kind of how the cycle works and how donations and investments work on CataCap. I'm going to go on. Oh, I get to show a demo. Awesome. So there is a question. Hold on one second. Let me just read. Encouraged for donating. Which will then reinvest towards impact-driven companies. Donation staffs are encouraged to donate a part of their endowment to CataCap. Okay, so that's a great question. So foundations and DAFs are encouraged/required to donate at least 5% of their total money under management to charity. And actually, CataCap is a charity. So any investment, if you're an investment on CataCap, donating to us to invest in you actually falls within that 5%. So they get credit for that. We want them to donate more, but even that 5% can actually go as an investment. So I hope that answers your question, Valerie. Great. Okay, demo. I am going to go to, actually, I'm going to go out of here. I'm going to escape out of here, and I'm going to go to here. So this is actually within CataCap. I'm a user in CataCap. I'm actually in a demo account here. So here's a bunch of investments on our platform. Green America is amazing, supporting affordable working capital for low-income women. We have Global Fund for Coral Reefs, which is this huge, amazing investment that you can only get access to if you have, multi-million-dollar foundation or DAF or through CataCap. It's amazing. There's BIPOC-led organizations, female-founded groups on here, clean technology companies. Carbon counts, et cetera. So I'm going to go to this investment here. So let's say this is actually CataCap's Founders Fund. It's to support CataCap actually as an investment. We also are live on the platform, eating our own dog food and learning every day. Oops, let me close this. Okay, so let's say that I am having lunch with a friend who I know donates to climate change issues and has done, maybe they're an angel investor and they've done a few angel investments. And I say, hey, I'm fundraising, would love for you to invest. There's two ways to invest in us. You can either just write us a check and be, from your Wells Fargo bank account, and we'll give you the diligence paperwork and you can be on our cap table, or you can just do a donation for $5,000 or 10 or whatever. Through our partner, where we're now working with CataCap, you can donate, and that money will be invested in us. And when that money grows, when we get acquired, that money goes back to your CataCap account to do more good with. And when you put your money into CataCap, you get a tax deduction, by the way, for example. They say, that sounds amazing. I can get a tax deduction and invest for you. I'm in, right? So you send them your investment link. In this case, our investment link is app.catacap.org/invest/CataCap Founders Fund. This friend of yours says, I'm willing to put in, let's say, let's kick it up. I'm going to put 25,000, make it fun. Nice round number. $25,000. Great. How do you want to fund your donation to invest in the CataCap fund? You can either do a DAF, a donor advised fund, a foundation grant, an ACH bank transfer, or a credit card. And you can do, if you do a credit card or ACH, you do it right through CataCap, and we provide a tax receipt instantly for their donation. And they can say, okay, I want $25,000 and I'm going to invest this in the Founders Fund, and our platform does it all for them. Super simple. Let's say they have a DAF and they want to do a DAF grant. They click DAF, we click submit. We say, okay, great, where's your DAF? And they say, my DAF is at Fidelity Charitable, and the name of my DAF is Ken's DAF. And they click submit, and it's like, great, now we've tracked that they're doing their $25,000 investment in you and their commitment. Now all they have to do is go to Fidelity Charitable and complete their donation. So they click donate now. By the way, this donor also gets an email saying, hey, great news, glad you want to donate. Here's a link to just in case. But and if they have a DAF at Fidelity, they already know how to do this, but they log into Fidelity, they go to make a grant, and they just do a donation to Impact Tree Foundation, just like they would any other donation. So it's literally like a 3-minute process from them saying, yes, I want to donate to invest $25,000 into you, to the money being on its way to CataCap and us allocating that money to be invested. So I hope that makes sense. If there's any questions about that, I'm going to jump to the chat real quick and see if there's any questions about that. While I try to, there we go. Okay, so there are DAF platforms such as Impact Assets, and okay, there's a question about how much overlap there is between CataCap and Impact Assets or Net, et cetera. We were to fundraise on CataCap, but there are DAFs on a different platform from where I could raise. How would they know about this? Great question. We actually partner with Impact Assets, first of all. So any DAF provider can make a donation to our nonprofit. Actually, we fall under the umbrella. Our main nonprofit is Impact Tree Foundation. CataCap is a program of Impact Tree Foundation. We're actually in the process of changing name, but we are a 501c public charity. So anyone who has a DAF anywhere at Impact Assets or Schwab or Net or whatever can just make a donation to CataCap. And as part of that form I just showed you, they designate where the money is going to be invested. They say, they go to your investment page. They say, I'm going to do $25,000 into this investment, and here's my name, and here's my money is, and they click submit, and then we get that money. We match it to that grant recommendation. So we are agnostic. Money can come from anywhere. Donations can come from anywhere, including even an ACH or credit card where we give tax receipts for those donations. Okay, so that was that question. Required for a company to be eligible to receive DAF funds. What are the parameters that are required for a company to be eligible to receive DAF funds? That's a great question. The bigger question is, what are the requirements to be an impact investment on CataCap, probably, Lauren. So in order to be on CataCap, you have to have a few criteria. One is you have to be an impact investment. And we actually work with Impact Assets and we use their criteria. So the criteria is pretty broad in terms of like, it has to make the world a better place. It needs to be female-led or female-founded, clean technology, regen agriculture, BIPOC-led, medical devices, med tech, fintech, or ed tech. Sorry, probably not fintech, but ed tech or some elements of fintech. It's a pretty broad umbrella of what falls under the umbrella of impact that can be on CataCap, and then you can raise from anyone, from Uncle or Aunt Samantha to a huge foundation. So I hope that answers your question, Lauren. DAF, and there's a liquidity event with CataCap donations. What are the tax implications? Thank you. Thank you, Blue. I hope it's Blue. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If someone makes a donation to CataCap from a DAF, $10,000, and they say, I want to invest it into Blue's company, great. We get the donation. This is actually probably a good time also to talk about fees. So a donor makes a $10,000 donation and says, I want to invest this into Blue's company of, I don't know, I didn't get a chance to look at what you do, Blue, but anyways, We charge a one-time fee upfront of 5% because we actually have fees with our partner Impact Assets to facilitate the investments and annual fees. So we charge 5% upfront. So 10,000 comes in. We then allocate 95% of that towards Blue's investment. Let's say Blue's company goes big and gets acquired, there's an exit, and now that $9,500 is worth $30,000. That $30,000 goes back to CataCap, to that donor's account, the original donor of the $10,000. It goes back, and we say, hey, great news, your $10,000 is now worth $30,000. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to invest in some other cool thing on CataCap? Do you want to donate it out to some 501c3 public charity? Do you want to donate it back to your DAF? So it's kind of up to them at that time to decide what they want to do with that growth capital. Okay, went through that one. Oh, one other question. I think this is also in line with what your question is, Blue. When someone donates $5,000 with a credit card, and we give them a tax receipt for their donation. We say, great, thank you so much. We're so grateful for your donation. Now, what do you want to do with this? And they say, hey, they want to recommend that it be donated into Blue's company. We're like, great, wonderful. Goes to Blue's company. Blue's company gets acquired. That, what did I say, $5,000? $5,000, whatever that credit card. The $5,000 donation is now worth $50,000. That 50,000 goes back to that original donor's CataCap account, but there's no additional tax implications at that time. They don't now get additional tax benefits from the growth of that capital. They got that initial tax benefit when they first put the money in and deducted it from their tax, whatever their accountant told them they could do. And that's the point where they get the tax benefit. And the same goes for actually DAFs. When people put money into DAFs, that's actually the time when they get the tax benefit. So when money comes from a DAF to CataCap, there's no tax benefit because they've already gotten it on the front end when they put their money into Schwab Charitable or into Fidelity or into us or any other nonprofit. Okay, I'm going to try to get through the rest of these slides. Let's see. I'm kind of doing pretty well on time. So I'm going to go through a few more slides and I'll try to get back to your questions, Valerie and Betsy, and continue on. Okay, investments on CataCap. What kind of investments? Impact themes. As I said, we're pretty broad in terms of what the umbrella of impact is. No one's really come to us with some cockamamie business idea. But I can't remember. I think we've maybe rejected one investment that was definitely not impact. So the umbrella is pretty broad. Investment vehicles. It can be a fund, it can be a company, it can be a recoverable grant, program-related investments. Investment types obviously is pretty broad as well. It could be debt, equity, loan, so it's non-dilutive. The type of investments on our platform are pretty broad. So, if you're already fundraising and you already have a safe, for example, you're just going to use that exact same safe and put it onto CataCap, same documents and everything. And at the end, when we aggregate, $300,000 from all your donors to invest, we then sign that safe and invest in you, actually in partnership with Impact Assets. Okay. I am going to go to the next slide. Gaining early investors and building momentum. So this is key. We do not want a bunch of investments on CataCap that raise $2,000 for a couple reasons. A, that doesn't really help anyone. B, more importantly, maybe we cannot make an investment in a company for less than $50,000 really. So we can start aggregating donor investors, and then once we get over $50,000, that's the triggering point where we're like, great. In this case, I'll use I'll keep using Blue Blacksley. Interesting name. I like your name. Blue, you just got over $50,000. Are you going to continue to raise? And hopefully you raise hundreds of $1,000s. But now we can actually make an investment. If you only raise $10,000 through CataCap, we can't really make an investment. And so after a set period of time, which is right now our window is about 90 days. You have about 90 days to raise your first $25,000 through CataCap. And if you raise zero or you raise 1,000 or no, actually our minimum for private companies is 2,500. So if you just get one donor of $2,500 and nothing else, we kind of talk to you about, if this is not the right time or you're not able to fundraise or what's going on, just because we don't want a lot of stagnant investments. So how do we help investments go from this is amazing, I can now raise from this $2.2 trillion to actually fundraising? Let's go to the next slide. Here are the four main types of donor investors that we see through CataCap, people that will donate money to invest in impact companies. First is DAFs and foundations and family offices. And the main reason why this is such a low-hanging fruit area is because they're already doing investing and the money is already allocated for impact. As I was mentioning, if someone's that has an account at DAF Giving 360 or Fidelity, they've already put the money there. They're already doing investing. They're just doing investing in the stock market. They're not doing impact investing. So they're already doing like 95% of the puzzle. The only thing they're not doing is saying, hey, I want to put this money towards some amazing company on CataCap, not somewhere else. And so that is one area where we focus, and we get a lot of DAF grants, foundation grants, family offices that do impact investing through CataCap. So if you know any DAFs, if you know any foundations, if you know any family offices, if you know any investment advisors, high net worth individuals, all of these people are already kind of playing in some of these pools, and so it's they'll already understand A, philanthropy, B, making a donation, and C, the one thing they probably won't know, many don't know that they can use donations for impact investing. And so that's kind of the one little gap of like, oh, you have a foundation, you have a DAF, or you already donate to Greenpeace, you donated $10,000 to your kid's school last year. That's amazing. Would you like to donate to invest in my company? Because we're friends and we've talked forever, and I know you believe in me, and I know you buy my products all the time, whatever it is. Number two, traditional investors. So if you've already pitched to 300 angel investors, and all of them say, "Oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. I love your vision. I love your company. It's just too early for me," or "It's too risky for me," or I'm trying to go for 100x returns on all of my investments so that, when 8 of them fail and one of them succeeds, I will have a successful angel portfolio. All those people that said no, now you can go back and say, hey, do you want to dip your toe in an investment with us with a donation? So it's a new way to go back to any traditional investor or any new investor and say, hey, and I'll show you we have some slides we give to our investment saying, hey, you can now invest in us. We'd love for you to invest. And we have two ways. If you think we're like not fast enough, we're not a rocket, we're not a rocket ship, but you still love us, you could actually do it as a donation, get a tax receipt, and be on our journey with us and have your foot in the door so that when we raise Series A or Series B, when we are on a rocket ship trajectory, you can jump in. Third is current investors. If someone has already invested in you and they love you and they've put in, I don't know, $50 or $100,000, and you go back to them and they say, oh my gosh, I'm kind of tapped out. I love you, I love the vision, but I just have this portfolio and I do other things. But like, hey, maybe would you be interested in doing it as a donation? And you can do it as a donation, either from a foundation or DAF, as a grant, or with a credit card or ACH and get a tax write-off. And so that also has been a successful area. And the fourth is theme-focused donors. So let's say one of the people on this call was developing technology for prosthetics, I think, or people with that had lost a limb. Amazing. Thank you so much for what you do. There are many, many, many nonprofits that also focus on supporting these same audience, these same audience of potential recipients. And so you can actually go online and see who are the biggest foundations, who are the biggest donors that donate money charitably to some of these nonprofit organizations. And you can go back to those foundations and say, hey, would you be willing to invest in under the same theme, under the same umbrella? Because we're also helping the same community. Same can go for clean oceans or climate or whatever it is. So those are four areas. A couple case studies. How am I doing on time? Doing pretty well on time, I think. We have three just examples of investments. One is Carbon Counts. They've raised, actually, I think they're over 220. I think they're like 250, 270, I can't remember. And they have actually a few more investors. I should update this. But they've been really successful at fundraising through CataCap. A lot of their donors, they had some early donors that put in, I think their first donor put in like 25 or $50,000. And then they went out to more, and they had a couple smaller donors, donor investors, all through CataCap. So that was great. Pandia Health is an interesting case. They actually got their original donor, I think, was 25 or $50,000 before Pandia was even live on CataCap. They had already talked to some of their friends and colleagues, and one of their friends said that they would donate to invest $50,000. So we got contacted by the donor and said, "Hey, love this company, Pandia Health. I want to donate. Here's $50,000. Get them live on CataCap and kick off their fundraise." And that's been really successful for Pandia Health. And that's actually the direction that we're now going with most of our investments. Like, we want you to have talked to and gotten some lead donor investors already before you go live on CataCap, so we can really help catapult your investment and your success on CataCap. And then the third actually is Blue Forest. This was an interesting use case. We have a large corporate client, QBE. They're a multi-billion-dollar insurance company. They basically, what they did is they donated actually $250,000, and they split off part of that, and they gave it to 100 employees. They gave $1,000 in a CataCap account for 100 employees. And then they actually curated some investments. One of the investments was Blue Forest. They curated, I think it was 4 investments last year. This year they're doing 4 or 5. And then those employees got to actually decide where the company's philanthropic investments went. It was amazing. It was employee engagement. It was corporate impact investing, corporate philanthropy, like all wrapped into one beautiful bow. And the employees loved it. The company loved it. It was really successful. So if you know some companies, especially companies that maybe give their employees matching grants or money to do donations, that can also be a great source of philanthropic capital for investments on CataCap. Okay, 4 keys to success on CataCap. Number 1, I guess I can't reiterate enough, $50,000 in early investors, because we cannot cut a check for under $50,000. So when you launch your program, make sure even before, we're going to give you a link to our Raise Money page. And we really have a window of about 90 days or less. We're kind of changing that window a little bit depending on how companies progress. But we want companies to get out of the gates and go fundraise and not sit on this and not do anything, because we don't want investments just sitting there not able to receive funding through CataCap. So when you submit your Raise Money form on CataCap to raise money on our platform, and we say, great, here's your investment page, you're going to have about 90 days to get over some of these minimums, so that you can prove that you can fundraise, and B, you can really start to get some momentum, because the more momentum you get, all of us probably know, the more follow-on support you'll get. The 3-month raise window. It's, again, funding from your network. So this is a tool that'll allow you to fundraise from your network, your connections, friends of friends, friends of friends of friends of friends. You can do Zoom meetings, you can hold lunches, dinners, whatever it takes to get connected, to find people that want to donate to invest in you. Getting started. So I'm going to put in the first step. Prior to submitting, and I'm going to put actually in the chat here, catacap.org/raise money. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of information on this page right here, catacap.org/raise money. I don't know if that came through as a link, because it didn't. I can actually, Sydney, if you're able to put the link into the raise money page, that'd be great while I blather on. Before you submit on this Raise Money page, I would go talk to some people and be like, hey, we're about to go raise on this platform. If we do, would you be a lead investor in us? Would you donate $1,000? Well, actually, the minimum for when you just launch is $2,500. Actually, until you reach 25,000, people have to put in $2,500 minimum. So you can go out and be like, hey, will you put in 2,500, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, whoever you're talking to. Hopefully you can kind of guess guesstimate how much they'd be willing to put in. Will you donate to invest if we launch on CataCap? And they say yes. You're like, great, amazing. We're going to have this live in a week or 2 weeks, whatever, and then we'll work with you to complete your investment, your donation investment. So make sure you get some of those early discussions and early donors in. Once you talk to a few and you already are kind of getting on your way towards 25,000, then, or you're like 10,000, 5, 10, 20,000 more, great. I would definitely go to the catacap.org/raise money page and complete the form in there. It's, what's your, what's the investment name? Tell us about the investment. What are the terms of the investment? What are the SDGs and impact areas of the investment? How much are you raising? How much have you raised? Your pitch deck, all that stuff. We review all that. We make sure it falls under the umbrella of impact. We'll email you and see how much you've already gotten committed to invest in you through CataCap. And if you have A, you fall into the umbrella of impact, and B, you've already talked to some donor investors that want to invest real money and get you towards kind of $25,000, $50,000, we will activate your page to let you go fundraise and fully support you to go fundraise. I think that's pretty much all for that page. If you have more questions, again, please put them in the chat. Before I go to the next slides, and I still have a few more, I'm playing that right. I'm going to go back up into the chat. Percent investments are made from organic traffic on platforms versus private networks? Great question from Devin. Curious if the investor psychology is similar to crowdfunding. Is there a traction threshold where FOMO kicks in? Most of the investments are going to come through relationships and groups. So Devin, if you have a great connections to foundations or DAFs or high net worth, people, more power to you. If you don't, there are many investment groups that have already a community of investors. So if you can pitch at investor circles or Nexus or some angel group in your community, it doesn't even have to be philanthropic capital. It can be angel investors that are doing direct investing that can also do philanthropic, obviously. So there are a lot of networks depending on the theme you fall under, the area, or any connections you have to get in front of large audiences. And a lot of it's relationships, a lot of it's networking. We've found. Let's see here. What is the range in investment tickets you've seen on CataCap? So there's two sides to this, and Carmel, thanks for the question. On one side is donors coming in to donate to invest in a company, right, or an investment. On the other side is the investment receiving investments from CataCap. So those are two different numbers. The average dollar donation that comes in right now, I think, is about $9,800. So the average donor says, okay, I'm going to put in $9,800. I'm going to put it towards 1 or 2 or 3 investments, whatever. The average check size out right now for us is, I think, about $110,000. So we aggregate all those 10. So each investment has, based on those averages, roughly what 11 investors, 10, 11 investors. So yeah, again, our minimum is 50. Our biggest investment to date, I think, maybe 250. We're starting to try to push that higher and higher. Actually, I take that back. There's a fund that's raised $400,000 to invest in women-led companies on our platform. That's been really successful. Yeah. So I'm going to go. I think I've answered most of the questions up above. If I haven't answered your question above, I'm really sorry. You can actually maybe put it in again because I don't want to like scroll and thing. I have 2 more slides I'll show, and then I'm just going to answer questions until we're run out of questions or time or both. These 2 slides I just want to reemphasize how investments on CataCap, once they're an actual investment on CataCap, they've talked to their lead investor, their lead friends, family, colleagues, donors, etc., and they already have a couple that says, yes, I'm in. Once you get this live on CataCap, I'm totally in for $10,000, whatever it is. They fill out the raise money form. We look at it. It obviously falls under impact. They already have some lead investors. We say, great. Then we give you a Notion. We give you, all these different tools and slide decks you can pull from, content to do pitches and make a really nice pitch and clear, concise presentations, etc. One of the things we do is when you pitch, as an investment on CataCap to an investor, you are now, as I said before, going to be able to pitch that people can invest in two ways. They can either do a traditional investment. They can just write you a check right there from their Wells Fargo account for $100,000, and they can sign your subscription papers, and they can be on your cap table, and that is amazing. And we don't discourage that. And if they do that, wonderful. The other option is they can donate to invest. And so this slide we give to you later, but it's kind of the benefits, the pros and cons of both. Obviously, if they're like, hey, I want to do $50,000, I just want to do as a donation, great. There's no paperwork, there's no diligence. All they have to do is donation. And then when that money comes back, it grows their philanthropic pool of money. And I think I have one other slide in here. And then we have a slide like this. This is not, we give QR codes and links that you'll be able to use to send people. So everyone's going to have, once you complete the raise money form, an investment page that you can go to. Now, the reason why getting those early lead investors on quickly is because we really don't want you to launch an investment page and have zero goose egg dollars raised. And have it sit there with zero investors and $0. So we want to help you with those first few and support you to get those first, 3 or 5 donor investors who are going to say, yep, I'm in for $2,500 or more. And, let me know and I will do it as soon as you get me the link. Okay, more questions I see. You mentioned that when donors get a grown investment back in your CataCap, they can reinvest in other projects, but also give it to their chosen charities. My question is, do charities need to register somewhere to appear on CataCap? Great question. Question is, when someone donates $10,000, it gets invested into Pandia Health. Pandia Health gets acquired by CVS. That $10,000 investment is all of a sudden now worth $100,000. What can they do with that money? And can they, they can either reinvest it in other investments on CataCap, which we hope they do to support companies like yourself right now. They can donate it to any 501c3 charity. We do not tell them where to donate the charity, which charity to donate to. We don't have a list of approved charities. It just has to be a 501c3 public nonprofit because we are also a public nonprofit. That's the only thing we can donate to. But we don't give them a list of like what to do with their money. It's totally up to them. Okay, so that answers your question, Valerie. Luis, funds committed to CataCap, most of the efforts is still on the companies. Great question. So we have, there's a question from Luis about investments. Like I said before, we don't have 10 million DAFs with $10 million just sitting on CataCap waiting for the next exciting investment to come to CataCap for them to jump on like voracious little elves. 99% of the fundraising happens by the actual companies on CataCap going out and pitching their investment and saying, hey, we would love to have you invest in us. And there's 2 ways to invest in us, either directly or you can do it as a donation. So we do have, there are some funds on CataCap. So there's actually the CataCap Global Fund, which is actually managed by myself and Tim. So we just launched that. So people can actually they can just donate to that. And then we designate where the money gets invested on CataCap. There's the Empower Her Fund where people can put money into the fund. And then that money gets invested into women-led companies. And again, the Empower Her group on CataCap is actually curating those investments. They're just 2 amazing women, female founders who launched a group on CataCap to activate their whole community to invest in women-led companies. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Luis. Cross-border investing, any important notes? Thank you. Thank you, Blue. Yes. So we have done and can do investments cross-border. Again, the donations come in to us. We are a public charity. If the donations come in from, Argentina, we don't control whether they're able to have any financial or tax benefits at all. Anyone can donate to us. It's kind of up to the donor to figure out any tax implications or financial implications. On the flip side, we can do investments internationally, yes. So that is that question. I think, who is the female founders fund of who raised 500K? I'm just going to get out of here. Let me just stop sharing. And I can pull that link for you right now since I'm not sharing. It's called the Empower Her Fund. If you love supporting female founders and you want to donate to invest to support female founders, this is by far the best, easiest way to do it. To donate into the Empower Her Fund. It's actually run by two amazing women. Lily Cantor, who started Serena Lily, which was a huge online consumer goods company, and then also Beth Stiletto, who is a longtime impact investor and expert, and they're bringing in donors as well as curating the female-founded investments. And they also look at CataCap for different investments to invest in. If you're a female-founded company on CataCap and you're doing well, so you've raised over $50,000-$100,000, we definitely let them know about it too, because we want to help fuel obviously the whole ecosystem. I think I'll wait for a minute if there's any other questions. I'm happy to answer more questions. Oh, you all should join CataCap for sure. Let me send you, and you can actually join my group if you guys want to join my group. I'll send you my group. I have a group on CataCap. Let's see, can get you the link. I think, is it? Oh, shoot. I gotta log in. So while I'm logging in to get my group link, you can post questions in there. And you can come in, follow me, follow my group. What I do with my group is as I see really cool investments on CataCap, I share them with my friends and my community that are all my followers on CataCap. So I'm going to put in the chat here my group. Oh yeah, I forgot group number 1. Makes sense. Click there, you can join for free. You can join my group. You can also join CataCap. You can see investments. The only thing is, if you join for free, so we have two different types of accounts, a free account and a donor account. If you join for free, you cannot see the terms for different investments and you can't see the pitch material for different investments. The only way to see that information is if you're actually a donor into CataCap. You can donate $10, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you have an account, if you donate $10 with a credit card, then it kind of unlocks everything else. Because once you become a donor, you become part of our community, our ecosystem, and then you can see some of the investment materials. I think that's about it. And I don't see any other questions. If there are any other last questions, please put in the chat. Otherwise, we finished ahead of time, and I love it. You can always email me, ken@catacap.org, with any questions. If you have lead donor investors and you want my help to get them up and running quickly, and you're going to have dinner with them tonight, and they're like, I love this. I totally am going to put $50,000 into you. Email, say, no problem. I'll email Ken. We'll get you up right away to support your donor investors. We want to help you as much as we can unlock all those philanthropic dollars for impact investing. So I think we're going to send an email tomorrow, or Sydney's going to send an email tomorrow with, I think, maybe part of this video. We can also attach the slides from today. Or actually, I can also send you the slides. Yeah, we'll put it in the email tomorrow. So I think that's about it. Last thing, actually, I'll put in the chat my email, so you can email me if you want. CataCap, and then I'm going to call it. Perfect. Thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it and your great questions. And more importantly, thank you for all the amazing work you do. And we're glad to be here to support you in fundraising and growing your impact. So thank you. Thank you.